I'm sure somewhere there's a lot of irony about a YouTuber making a video like this, but do let me explain. See, being famous has always been seen as this ideal dream for most, and for good reason. You see, with fame, you have the respect and admiration from all your peers while also being in the spotlight and having this constant praise from people you'll never actually meet. And usually, a benefit of being famous is the money, and most of the time, there's a lot of it. Now, what people decide to do with the money heavily varies, to say the least. Sometimes investing in their future, getting property, using it for college, or paying off debt. Or, girls, cars, parties, vacations, and so on and so forth. The point is, being famous is fun. And a lot of what I mentioned does sound fun. Well, why is it so many celebrities regret being famous and often mention wanting to leave it all behind just to be a normal person again? Well, let me give you the perfect example. Someone who was basically born into the spotlight. And despite the overwhelming success, wanted to take a back seat but couldn't. This person is Michael Jackson. Now, we all know who MJ is, so I'll keep his introduction brief. Since 6 years old, Mike was in a very popular and successful pop and soul music group known as the Jackson 5, a group consisting of him and his brothers, with his father being the manager. Having a good taste of fame at a young age, Michael had experienced what most would never, and he would eventually carve his own path as his own individual, still occasionally performing with his family, but wanting to be his own man. And he would very much succeed, reaching heights I'm sure he never expected, and become one of the biggest stars, not just from the last century, but history. So, with him being at the top of the world and having all this momentum, what exactly went wrong? See, MJ would unfortunately lose himself in pursuing fame. Michael didn't exactly go for fame because he enjoyed it. He did it because it's all he knew. Like I said earlier, he was introduced into the industry at a very young age, and given his family dynamic, I'm sure this ideology was instilled into his brain. So deep down, he was good and very calculated of how he handled his business and himself. But decades of constantly planning your life, especially while in the public eye, would take its toll. So, despite having millions of fans, MJ reported he was extremely lonely, as most of them saw him around as a product, an opportunity to gain or elevate their own careers. Imagine your friends and even family suddenly seeing you as a money machine. The time you spend with them becomes less about fun and love and more about leverage and favors. It's not fun. It's a feeling I never want to experience, and I imagine most wouldn't either. To take it a step further, MJ would occasionally have to wear disguises for personal outings and dates, and even around a grocery store with those close to him acting as cashiers and customers, just so he could shop like a normal person, which was a long desire of his. And it's crazy, Grocery shopping is as normal as it gets, and this was one of his long time desires. There's a saying that goes, "Don't take the little things for granted," and it's very apparent here. He seemed to enjoy one of the little things at his peak, and although it seems little to us, I'm sure there were other tiny things we don't even think twice about that he wanted. And I'm sure these things would lead to depression, which is also another issue with being famous. See, being depressed isn't restricted to being famous, of course. Most people have their days or slumps or moments where they're depressed. But I feel like being a depressed celebrity is far more dangerous. See, a lot of child and teenage stars usually go down this dark path, as sometimes those around them take advantage of their ignorance. Also, unfortunately, using them as a way for financial gain rather than their health. Another is that the fame can, kind of go to your head, leading to some unhealthy power trips. You're young and you suddenly are given so much money you don't know what to do with. You can do basically whatever you want, and truthfully, who's going to stop you? You're rich, you're successful, you've made it. You throw parties, you start drinking, and a sketchy stranger who's equally high on life offer you some hard drugs. You don't think twice about it, nor do you know what it is, and bam, you're addicted. And this happens more than you think. And unfortunately, they will also enter a slump or, just be a little sad. And without a proper support system, they'll fall back on these substances to take the edge off. And like with MJ, the people around you might not have the best intentions or really care about your health. So they'll have more roundabout ways to deal with the stress. And it's unfortunate because once you reach that point, it's hard to know who's really your friend, especially when you just need another shoulder to lean on. Unfortunately, you'll find out it's not always solid. And sometimes you do need to be told no. You need someone else to hold you accountable for your actions so you don't get caught up in it all and lose yourself. Lastly, is privacy. This one's more obvious, but I think it's the most important. You see, occasionally you will be recognized in public. People want photos or autographs. Over time, these little stops might become more inconvenient and more frequent. And you see, many celebs do prefer to keep their family out of the spotlight because that can intrude on their life and sometimes put them in harm's way. Going out to dinner for a significant other, for example, is supposed to be a more intimate, one on one thing. That immersion might break if, someone just walks up to your table asking for a flick, or if you're really famous, having journalists and
Oh, sorry to
paparazzi
hear.
taking flicks from an angle you never even suspected. Now, most people do have etiquette, but some people really don't know or don't care when they're crossing someone else's boundaries. Another thing is that a lot of people who are famous just kind of get doxxed a good bit, or even crazier, just have their address with photo just posted all online for everyone to see, which I think is a bit scary and crazy. And people with not so good intentions will use this information to sometimes stalk or harass you. Simple day to day things and activities no longer become so simple as now you have to share downtime with the world. And one day you might say something that others don't agree with or make a joke that doesn't land so well. And now you're constantly under public scrutiny. Some threats might start heading your way, and opinions built on lies about your reform. And this social pressure might lead you to do not so wise things as stated earlier. And believe it or not, a lot of times when celebs try to confide in the masses online or even their own fans, they get absolutely berated for it. As people will constantly kind of dismiss your feelings once they believe you're too famous. And I think Mr. Beast is a great example of this, as no matter what he does ever, he's constantly getting hated. Like, I don't even watch Mr. Beast, but 99% of the time, the hate is just overly forced and I feel like unjustified. With people funny enough seeing him as a product too, or just some evil, emotionless warlord who just has horrible plans for people. I don't know. He seems like he just donates money for fun. Now, this of course isn't exclusive to Jimmy, but he's the most apparent example I can use right now. With that being said, I think I have made my case on why being famous is very much a double-edged sword. It is fun, don't get it twisted, and it's a dream for countless people out there, from little kids to mature adults who are still chasing their dreams and want that stardom. However, many factors are out of your control, and if you're not careful, the risk and weight of it all will crush you. So, to the people who experience a level of fame and decided to step out of the light, I completely understand. Why always be in the public eye when you could just have your moment, whether it's brief for a few years, have some fun, and all that money you earn, just take it, save it, and quietly make your departure. You still have your freedom, still have your respect, and once more, you have your peace and a bunch of money. Speaking of, I think something most people want is not actually fame, but money. But I think with the average person, too much money might also bring its own set of issues and might just end up being worse than being famous. But maybe we'll talk about that next time. I just want to say thank you for watching, especially if you made it this far in the video. I am still a very small creator, so any support is always appreciated. So again, thank you for watching. It really does help when you guys show support and just watch the videos. Yeah, it's like the best thing in the world to like see people comment and actually enjoy what I have to say and the yapping. With that being said, though, wherever you are, be sure to have a good day and a good night. So until next time, peace.